I'm the Reverend Carrie Kopnick, and I serve the Chaplaincy Institute as our community minister. It's a great honor to serve and to be with you here today. ChI Talks is a monthly event that explores facets of spirituality through an interfaith lens. This is with obviously the Chaplaincy community, Chaplaincy Institute community, or the ChI interfaith community. We invite you to join us every month on the third Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific. Next month, we're going to talk about hospice. Today, we're recording our session, so if you wish not to be on camera, please turn off your video and your image won't appear in the recording. We'll let you know that there will be time at the end of the presentation for questions about the topic or about a little bit about our seminary. The Chaplaincy Institute provides education for those seeking to serve in hospitals, hospices, disasters, prisons, corporations, the military, as movement, ministry activists, and in environmental contexts. We also educate spiritual directors, also known as spiritual companions. We have the ChI Seminary and then the ChI community, and our community is the oldest and most respected interfaith community offering ecclesiastical endorsement for chaplains. Our ordination or faith group endorsement or ecclesiastical endorsement is recognized by the Association of Professional Chaplains, the Veterans Administration, and the military. I'm so glad you're all here. And take a moment to welcome our speakers today, Reverend Susan Shannon and Reverend Godsoe. Let me share a little bit about them both. Susan is a devoted Dharma student, teacher, and earth steward. She's practiced Tibetan Buddhism for 45 years, studying with many of Tibet's greatest teachers. Susan has worked with diverse populations, including Tibetan refugees, the homeless, differently abled, at-risk youth, and the incarcerated. Ordained by ChI as an interfaith minister in 2011, she earned a master's in divinity in 2012, focusing on marginalized communities. She completed her chaplaincy training in 2014 and became a board-certified clinical chaplain in 2019. Susan's ministry focuses on prison chaplaincy at San Quentin State Prison, or it has focused on that, including Buddhist chaplaincy. No, it's still focusing on Buddhist chaplaincy on death row. In 2020, she founded the Buddhist Prison Ministry, providing incarcerated individuals with Buddhist tools for spiritual growth. Susan teaches Dharma and chaplaincy at various centers and seminaries, emphasizing restorative justice and emotional literacy. Lily Godsoe is an ordained interfaith minister, also ordained in 2011, offering symbolic rituals and ceremonies to honor important life passages. A board-certified chaplain offering compassionate companionship and whole life spiritual care during times of crisis. A clinical pastoral psychotherapist offering clinically informed psychospiritual support to those facing complex issues with family dynamics, interpersonal relationships, health challenges, grief, and loss. She's an interfaith spiritual director offering companionship, and she is also the executive director of the Center for Spiritual Care and Pastoral Formation, or CSCPF. As a professor of clinical pastoral education, she works with individuals, teams, and communities to support training and best practices in spiritual care. Thank you so much for being here, both of you today.
Thank you.
Now, as we move out of our housekeeping and we move into this sacred time together, I'd like to take just a moment to center us and bring us together in unity. We'll alter here real quick. Let us ground ourselves, feet on the ground and seats in our seat. We call in all that is good and holy to be with us in this moment. We offer up our prayers and blessings for our beloved teacher, Reverend John Mabry, who is having surgery today. The beautiful, blessed news is that the kind of surgery he's going to have, for those of you who know him, may not take all of his natural hearing. So may it be so, and may we know that our shared energy beaming his way really does make a difference. So we lift John in gratitude, surrounding him with a white light of healing energy. And we arrive with gratitude for this beautiful circle of people and these beautiful spiritual leaders. Light our candle to remind us that the divine is with us in this moment, as ever and always. Blessings, 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 blessings.
Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah. All right, Susan and Lily.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for being here. I'll go first. So the way Lily and I thought we would do this talk is I'll kind of give some broad strokes about why one would want to get board certified and my journey with it and why I chose the path I did. And then I'm going to hand it over to Lily, who does the fine points of knitting together the entire process through CSCPF. Lily and I went to the Chaplaincy Institute together. I started in 2008, and I think Lily started in 2009, I believe. And we were ordained together. And I don't know if either of us thought we were going to do CPE or become board certified or any of that at the time. When I very first contacted the Chaplaincy Institute, it was after an answer to a prayer where I had asked the great universe that very day to give me some direction. Will I go into chaplaincy, providing spiritual care? Will I go back to school and focus on psychology? And right then, a friend called me and she said, right in that moment that my butt was hitting the zafu when I was going to make my petitionary prayers, my friend called and said, Susan, my husband's dying in the hospital. Can you come? And I spent the day there. He died. I met the chaplain. I talked to him about my background, and he said, you really need to call Gina Rose Halpern at the Chaplaincy Institute. You would be a perfect fit. So I did. And Gina Rose said to me, and after you finish the Chaplaincy Institute, you can go to Star King and get a master's in divinity, and then you can do 4 units of CPE, and then you can get board certified. And I looked at her like, yeah, when pigs can fly. Uh-huh, right. How is that ever going to happen? Well, after the warm embrace of ChI matched, so that's kind of one wing of the bird, and the other wing of the bird was the academic, feet on the ground, social justice focused Master's in Divinity course program. I realized I had stepped 2 full feet on the path and I wanted more. So I started my CPE in 2012, I believe. I think Lily and I were in the very first unit together. At that point, it was with CPSP. And I believe I did 2 units with CPSP. I really liked that program. However, there was something that was starting to emerge having to do with the culture and the presentation of CPE, the focus of chaplaincy. And what was beginning to emerge was a different path opening up that would lead to the formation of the Center for Spiritual Care and Pastoral Formation. So after doing 2 units of CPE, I decided to go forward with my next 2 with the newly formed CSCPF, the Center for Spiritual Care and Pastoral Formation, which Lily is the executive director of. And I absolutely loved that journey. It was everything I ever wanted in terms of self-growth, in terms of challenge, in terms of utilizing everything that I had learned in ChI and in the Master's in Divinity program. It gave me an opportunity to be in the field and to explore my edges with a cohort that were right there with me. So I finished my last 2 units of CPE with CSCPF. I didn't really need to get board certified because I knew at that point in time I was not going to work in a hospital. During ChI, I had so many friends die that I was in hospitals a lot. And I was also the kind of point person for them as they passed. So I had had enough of hospitals. I wanted to be in a different setting. I knew I didn't want to do hospice. So in the last year of my master's in divinity program, I needed one more class at a certain day in a certain time, and the only one was prison ministry. And that really took, and I'm still doing prison ministry these many years later, and a lot of programs started and 2 units of CPE and field work and all of that. So I didn't need to be board certified. But in reflecting on this talk today, and in reflecting on being a CHI advisor, since they had advisors, a student, a secondary faith tradition mentor, sat on many, many panels, teaching since 2012, I see so many different avenues that people come to CHI through. Many of them are second careers. Many of them have already got a master's in something or another. Many of them have gone through all kinds of academic hoops and done all kinds of things. And then there was me, who, for various reasons, never really wanted to finish my BA. Felt very limited by that. All I ever wanted to do was study Dharma. So I was studying Chinese and studying Tibetan and studying Dharma. And it was a challenge in my life to put all that I had cultivated into what I would call a legitimate profession, something that people could identify me in as something that would kind of normalize who I am in society, something that would help me fit. So that's what was what I had, part of what I had going into even after the master's in divinity, even after all the other things and a million certificates and all kinds of things. I thought to myself, I want to continue to refine this path. So it took me a while to get board certified because I had a very busy life in California. I was actually board certified, I think, in 2017. And however, I started leading CPE groups in 2013, I think, co-leading with John Jeffrey, and then have done maybe 25, 26 CPE units now, and got certified as a CPE supervisor in 2019, along with Lily a little bit later. But what I want to say about the process is that whether you have to get board certified or you think you do or not, in terms of formation of the profession, in terms of opening doors, in terms of presentation to the public, I really urge you to go through the steps to become board certified. I chose CSCPF because though I had been familiar with CPSP and a CPE and APC, I chose to stick with CSCPF, even as a very new organization, because CSCPF is focused around bringing back the heart of spiritual care.
Susan, I'm going to interrupt you just a minute and ask you to say I'm having a hard time keeping up with all the letters. So can you
Yeah.
say the full name of the org? I'm sorry.
See, the Center for Spiritual Care and Pastoral Formation is the one we're focusing on today.
Yeah.
The CPSP, Lily, what is CPSP? I forget.
I think Carrie put in the chat, it's the College
good.
of Pastoral Supervision and Psychotherapy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you do your core comps, you have to know these things.
We'll test you.
So yeah, bringing it back to the heart of the connection, bringing it back to presence, which the heart and the presence are fully interfaith, no faith. fully interfaith, no faith. It's about one's own process with refining who we are as a human being, with dealing with our afflicted emotions, dealing with our inner process, really and truly being forged into a vessel for spirit. And that's what I was all about. So that's why I spent my last 2 units with CSCPF, and why I decided to go through and become a CPE supervisor with them. I fully believe in the philosophy. I fully believe in the way it's run, which Lily will get into that. And then finally, before I hand it off to Lily, I want to say that in working in the prison, and now working with prisons all across the United States, being board certified has given me a platform that has helped me to recognize what professional spiritual care looks like and what it doesn't. So in the prison that I worked in, San Quentin, and in most prisons, chaplains do not need to be board certified. All they need to do, pretty much, is fit into the 5 faith traditions that the prisons hire and be able to do certain rites and rituals. They don't have to have CPE. If you have CPE, that's a good thing. They don't have to. I saw some really, really poor examples of spiritual care over the years, really poor, to the point of having my mouth actually just kind of fall open. And I know this is common in other traditions as well. Lily and I are here today just to talk about the process where we hope that everybody does their due diligence in finding a path into board certification, if that's what you want to, because different people, different strokes for different folks. But in terms of promoting this profession that we're all dedicated to, becoming board certified is like I said, it's a platform, it's a place where you can continue to promote high quality spiritual care in whatever setting you want, whatever setting you feel compelled to serve. But also, it's a deep commitment to doing your own inner work. And with that, I will hand it over to Lily.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to check. I think everyone's got their questions answered, I think. Yeah, okay. Thank you for having us, Carrie. And thank you so much, Susan, for sharing your journey to this moment from when we first met many years ago now. So as you were talking, and we're obviously the focus of our talk today is board certification. I'm just curious right now, I know one person here who is actively engaged in CPE. Is there anyone else here who has taken any units of clinical pastoral education? Okay. Oh, you've all 4. Okay, great. Okay, 3. All right, cool. Because obviously that's a big part of what leads up to board certification. It's a requirement. It's the basic requirement. One of the basic requirements for board certification is 4 units of clinical pastoral education, and that's across the board, across all any organization, this CSCPF or any. So just to kind of put a framework around it, and what is required to get there. There's other things too, but and those other things are also very much the same across the board. However, CSCPF has their own approach and interpretation of those other things that are necessary, and our own style. So, and I will be touching on that a little bit later in my talk. So, CSCPF was formed in 2014. So we're in our 10th year as an organization, which is incredible to imagine. You know, Susan mentioned CPSP, and that is the organization that most of our founding visionary members came from. I too was in CPSP, did all my 4 units with CPSP, and every one of my supervisors were the founding members of the CSCPF organization. And so it was a very eye-opening time for me to be a CPE student and really get a deep dive understanding on how the whole field of chaplaincy and certification works. Probably if I wasn't a part of that, it would have never even came on my radar. I think I would have just proceeded as business as usual and gone on my way. But it turns out not only was I getting a clinical pastoral education, but I was also getting a deeper education about how the industry works, how there's been a a one way, we do it one way and that's the only way kind of mentality, and either you get on board with that or not. And quite frankly, that wasn't very attractive to me. And so it was so refreshing to meet people who I feel were truly true innovators and true visionaries in this whole milieu. Where do I want to go from there? So yeah, CPSP was an organization that originally branched out from ACPE, which is the longest standing CPE education provider in the United States, probably in the world. And CPSP just broke away from them in the 60s and wanted to bring the roots of CPE back to the fore. They felt that over the years, through a variety of movements, that ACPE had moved away from its original intended course. And one of the inspiring things that CPSP did and still does is that they focus on small groups, the meaningful and enriching educational opportunities that come from small group work in particular, and meeting in practitioner or meeting in groups. And that is what we embody at CSCPF. We are grounded in community at every okay, so the questions, how are we going to do the questions? Sorry.
I think the alphabet soup is kind of
yeah. Maybe that would have been the thing to post at the beginning.
And I just put
so
it
sorry
in
about that.
No, I just put the alphabet soup primer if you want to copy and paste it. But Celia, the difference between getting CPE units from hospitals, from probably from educational centers that are accredited by the Association of Professional Educators, ACPE. Let's talk about that question at the end, but there is going to be a little bit of a difference. But let's right now just focus on the kind of education that you get from the Center for Spiritual Care and Pastoral Formation. But thank you.
Let's do the chat questions later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we could go right there to start, and instead of going into organizational stuff, I mean, I will say that the CPE standards are almost identical across all cognate organizations for clinical pastoral education. We are structured in the same way as any other organization in that we teach CPE vis-a-vis a learning center, of which Susan and I are affiliated with one learning center within CSCPF, of which we have several. So in that way, if it's based in the hospital, that's a learning center based in a hospital. There could be a learning center. We have a learning center that's based in a recovery center. We are, because we have embrace more of a community-based ministry model, we're able to offer support and CPE training to anyone anywhere in the field, where, let's say, ACPE has more traditional programs, hospital-based, physically based locations. We, with an experience of CPE and ACPE, let's say even Kaiser, where Jürgen is a CPE supervisor, everyone who's taking that CPE unit is at that location, and the cohort is traveling together, unit over unit, and having the same supervisor and having that experience in that hospital. A unit with us, community-based model would be people from all over the country, at various clinical placements, and the training, the in-class training is happening remotely, and as is the supervision. And the experience we find is very rich, because we will have people, in all different placements, which ultimately enriches the entire experience of CPE. So not just various faith backgrounds, but really exciting placements, traditional and non-traditional placements. So last unit we had someone in a hospital, someone in hospice, someone community chaplaincy, et cetera, et cetera. So prison chaplaincy. So each unit is different, is fresh. We were offering a mixed, meaning even pre-CSCPF, we were offering CPE in a mixed hybrid. We were already basically doing work online, and then occasionally meeting in person as well, doing clinical seminars in person. And then of course we were doing that for years until the pandemic came, and we were having no problem at all continuing on with our CPE training throughout the pandemic. We had already been at remote learning for several years at that point. So, excuse me. So that's one major difference, in that we have the flexibility and the responsiveness built into our organization. Our visionary members knew that the landscape for spiritual care was shifting. It was changing. There was an outreach more away from, let's say, traditional settings. Of course, we still need those traditional settings, but the way that the landscape has been changing, spiritual care is moving into places and spaces that perhaps was never able to be recognized in those places before. And so right away, our founding members really wanted to create opportunities for people who were in, let's say, non-traditional caregiving roles, for them to be able to have clinical supervision and clinical education at those serving sites. And the other thing that they masterfully opened up was being able to minister, train, and support people of non-traditional faith paths. Now, I know that the other organizations that we are cognate organizations with have been opening up a little bit more over the years. They're willing to recognize certain traditions. We're talking coming from a very, chaplaincy certification, it was very much, Christian based movement, really, and then opened up to those of the Jewish faith. But essentially, this was, these were some narrow pathways that people found very challenging to find themselves in. People who are qualified, who are clinically trained, who, when it comes to board certification, they are locked out because of lack of ecclesiastical endorsement, or lack of a traditional MDiv, which turns out is becoming less and less the path that people can afford to take or even want to take. They want to be, more often than not, they want to be in the field. They want to start offering well-informed support where they are in their communities. So I think, Susan Susan's a great example of that, in a way. Like, and Susan, you were mentioning a lot of folks obviously coming through ChI. This is a second or third career. I mean, certainly second career for me. And who has the time, who has the resources, if you're called to serve, who has the time or the resources to do a traditional path? Some do. And for many, they do not. And yet the cognate organization like ACPE is rather narrow in their, or limited, let's say, in their ability to be able to recognize people of different faiths, to honor someone's journey that might be non-traditional. So with that flexibility, so let's say the elements of a certification, a board clinical chaplain certification, is the 4 units of CPE. And it is the MDiv. And when I was a ChI, and I didn't have an MDiv, and I thought that there was only one way to chaplaincy, it was a real downer. I'll just say that. And because I was already doing my work in the world, and I wanted to expand that. And I felt like it was very daunting after going to seminary that there was only this one way, and how relieved and excited I was that not only was my interfaith practice would be acknowledged, but also that all my education, all my service, all the work that I had done would be considered as an equivalency toward a board certification process. And I think that's something else that really separates us from other cognate organizations, in that we have the ability baked in to be able to offer equivalencies and work with people to meet those equivalencies to satisfy the certification requirement. We also do not ask for an ecclesiastical endorsement. That is another requirement by some other cognate organizations, that you need to be ecclesiastically endorsed. For people who are traveling in their faith traditions that wouldn't even offer something like that, or that couldn't be possible. Again, that's a bar for people to get certified. We hold no position on it one way or the other. However, if you were from a faith tradition that required ecclesiastical endorsement, of course, we would say, ensure that you are in good standing. Like, for instance, we have several members of our organization that are with the Centers for Spiritual Living. And in that faith tradition, they do require their chaplains to have ecclesiastical endorsement in order to practice as a chaplain. But that's something separate that the candidate needs to make sure that they're in good standing in that way. But we ourselves, our certification is not contingent on that. And yes, again, to say about our organization, we borrowed, I think, some of the best parts of CPSP in our dedication to small group work, to having our organization grounded in community. We're a community. A member of CSCPF is in community at every level. We're a grassroots organization, a nonprofit, and it basically, the membership is what leads the organization, not the other way around. So in a way, over the years, we've maintained a relatively stable size, because we know that we are for folks that are craving to be, to serve spiritually and to have that clinical training, that can't find another way, or just are attracted to our approach to being traveling together in community. Susan and I in our CPE unit, we talk a lot about the burnout of chaplains, the very real danger of burnout for chaplains. And that's another thing I believe our visionary members helped us with in setting us up for with conditions for us to succeed. Because it turns out, in many other cognate organizations, you do all this work, you travel with your CPE cohort, you get ready, you get certified, and then you are out. And you're out there. Most of us serve alone. It's a pretty rare thing. Even if you're on a chaplain team, you're not even side by side with another chaplain. It can be extremely isolating and lonely work, and which leads to a lot of burnout. And our whole model is that as a member, you are in community, you with a group of people that you travel with over time, and the people that actually certify you with CSCPF are your own community members. Of course, in alignment with the same standards as all the other cognate organizations. But we feel it's really the folks that walk with us over time, that really get to know us, and we really get to know them, that can truly confer that affirmation of readiness, and also be there as the certified member continues on their journey. So one of the main criteria of remaining certified with CSCPF is to be with a member in good standing in a practitioner community, this community that travels with you over time. So not only is this our 10th year of CSCPF, this is going to be my 10th year with a practitioner community that Susan and I have been a part of this whole time. Susan was a member even longer than that. And we see each other on a regular basis, and continue to walk with each other, affirm each other, and support each other as we do this sacred work. And it turns out that this model of support is becoming more and more coveted, and as chaplains move into their work. Back in 2018, we began a partnership with the Spiritual Care Association. If you don't know who the Spiritual Care Association is, they're based out of New York, and they are very hard at work in helping to raise the standard of the entire chaplaincy industry in the U.S. and worldwide. and they're regularly in Washington, D.C., advocating for chaplains and getting us to a place where our field, our profession is more professionally supported, and both with recognition for the kind of care that and the value that we add, and also to support us with financially as well, and regulating the entire industry. So we've been partnering with them since 2018. They are their model of certification is a test. You take a test. Yes, okay. You take a test at the end, you do the same 4 units, you put all your paperwork together, and then you take a test. And not only do you take a test, but you on their quality indicators, but you also have a mock interview, which doesn't feel very mock, with an actor who, and you're observed on how well you encounter. So they're very, they're test based, and they've been very successful. They're growing a lot. They're actually in partnership now with CPSP, and it turns out they recognize the merit of chaplains having this type of community support and collegiality over time, realizing that's how we build resiliency in our industry. So I feel really proud that to be a member and to be a part of an organization that ultimately, I think these visionary members, they saw way down the line in so many different ways of our organization. And yeah, I want to mention, Susan's pinging me, that because of our relationship with the Spiritual Care Association, every certified member of CSCPF is automatically qualified for reciprocity with Spiritual Care Association. So I have myself 2 certifications for for BCC. I have it both with CSCPF and with the Spiritual Care Association. As Susan, you as well. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just
Yeah.
going to stop us here because we're running out of time. It's already, we only have 15 minutes left. So thank you very much, both
Sure.
of you. I can see that we have a lot of people in our group here who are new to the Chaplaincy Institute. And I'm not sure if you're coming in as chaplains looking for board certification, or people who are curious about the Chaplaincy Institute, but just a little recap. So people train to be chaplains in many different ways. There are people who come out of parish ministry and work as chaplains. There are people who are hired as chaplains off the street. There are people who complete a master's of divinity, a doctorate of divinity, some kind of theology degree, and then do these units of clinical pastoral education, CPE, and then continue their education. So depending on where people live in the country and what kind of chaplaincy they want to do, there's not one pathway. It's not like a medical doctor. So what we at the Chaplaincy Institute encourage is for people to follow their own path, but there are a number of different ways to get board certified. But as Susan said, board certification is not just a box to check. It's a piece that also helps you grow and learn and become. So that is part of the reason that we are here learning more about board certification. It's a way to deepen your understanding and continue to grow professionally, and it professionalizes the work that we do. So just a little bit, just a context there, and maybe I missed some things, but let's go through. There's a bunch of questions in the chat. So let's start with do all hospitals that acknowledge and accept the Association of Clinical Pastoral Education certification and acknowledge and accept the CSCPF board certification?
So a traditional hospital, Well, it's each one is its own culture. Each one has its own history. With chaplaincy, there will be hospitals and that would consider a somebody board certified from our organization, and there would be some that would not. And what I've tell people again and again is that it really takes a little bit of understanding that culture that you're applying to know that. And it's hard to know from an Indeed blurb that they're hiring a chaplain. It's just you really and we're talking about all over the country too. And also how a hiring process even happens for a hospital changes from hospital to hospital, or hospital group from hospital group, or system. I don't know where to go with that other than it's a really case by case basis. And that's something that we in CSCPF always support our members in if they need guidance or coaching on how to, if you're really, really wanting a job at a certain hospital, how could we support you in approaching that position? That's what we do.
Yeah.
Lily, I think it's also worth mentioning that if you are dual certified with SCA, that's a big deal,
Right.
with a lot of hospitals these days. And some of the if there is hesitancy to accept our certification, often what we're finding as CPE supervisors is it's more about people who are so dyed in the wool with the offerings that were available 15 years ago that they don't really have any idea about how the culture, the whole platform of certification has changed over the last 10, 15.
Yeah, I'll tell you from somebody who fills out a lot of recommendations, the big fancy hospitals, Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins, places like that would prefer to be ACPE, the Association of Clinical Pastoral Education board certified. Hospices almost across the board are thrilled to, if there's somebody who's seeking board certification. This is different in different parts of the country. But if we can educate people and they're open to learning more about the different kinds of board certification and what they offer, then it's much more likely. So, if you want to talk to me more about it and hear some of the nitty gritty, I'm happy to talk about that offline, not on YouTube. There's a question here about this was privately to me, can someone become a board certified chaplain without a master's of divinity? And I'll just answer that one quickly. I believe the answer is yes, with equivalencies. It's very, very difficult with the Association of Pastoral Clinical Educators. I'm not saying that right. They really make you jump through hoops. And I quickly, Lily, let's talk about how it works for you.
We offer equivalencies for sure. And we have a certification team in our organization that assesses candidates on a case-by-case basis, and we work very hard to help the candidate meet the requirements from an educational standpoint. And and we've had a lot of success in that area, so we definitely offer equivalencies. Yeah.
We recognize ChI just like Star King did. Star King used to, when they first started working with ChI, they recognized the ChI curriculum as being worthy of, when I was there, 16 units. So CSCPF also recognizes the ChI, whole ChI program as part, if not most, of the MDiv equivalency.
That's right.
Okay, so, oh my goodness. I understand that getting board certification is important. What is the difference between yours and BCCI? I think we talk about that. Celia, do you want to ask any more about that, or do you feel like that got covered? Did I make it so you can't unmute?
And I will say that, I mean, most cognate organizations will recognize, one unit of CPE from our organization. We've had several people take 1 unit of CPE with us, our learning center, and of course we acknowledge the CPE that you've taken at another organization. I would say, I mean, we've had people 4 units of ACPE get certified with us. I don't think I could say the same. It goes the other way around. But I know for us, because we truly see that CPE, and if you haven't taken CPE, take a unit of CPE. It's 1 unit of CPE can be life-changing.
We should all take it every 5 years.
Really,
I mean,
yeah.
We should really all take it every 5 years in different places.
Yeah, CPE is transformational. So, anyway, just to say that, yeah, it is a phenomenon. Each unit is different, but yet each unit is the same too. In that, what's happening in the process for each person. So,
Carrie, I'm finally figuring out how to unmute myself. No, I think my real confusion is I appreciate wherever we go to get board certification. I mean, I finally understand that your organization also get board certification, all right?
That's right.
So the bottom line is still, who's out there paying these chaplains to do the work? You know, I mean, you still have only hospital is still main thing, right? Perhaps prison. I don't know where else chaplains being trained, where they go to get a job. And that seems to be the back end of things. You could be chaplain, all kind of things, but who's paying you? And I'm just curious about that because right now I'm in my 2nd CPE, okay? And it's in the hospital setting.
Your second residency, 2nd year of residency, Celia?
No. This is a 2nd unit. I'm about ready to go into a residency, right? But nevertheless, it's still a traditional hospital setting. And I'm trying to break out of that because I really don't like it. I don't like the organization because in that side of organization, chaplain has no position whatsoever. It's an afterthought. And I don't think we train so hard to be a chaplain, getting MDiv, all the other thing, and then you go to the hospital and they don't care about you. You know, first of all, our hours are not billable. So very simple. When your hours not billable, nobody pay any attention to you. All right. So I would rather go somewhere that I could do my work, make a difference, but somebody better pay me to do it. So
well, let me butt in for the sake of time.
That's my question. I know this is beyond the conversation now, but I'm frustrated because of that.
Yeah, we can make it short. When I interview people, I always ask them, do you need to make money? Because a lot of people do come to chaplaincy as a second or as in retirement. If you need to make money, if they say, yes, I need to make money and I need this to be a career, then I'll pretty much always say, then it would be really good for you to start looking on Indeed or whatever for healthcare chaplaincy, because that's where you would get a salary. There are other places, but given the bigger scope of the human condition and the bigger scope of the need for spiritual care in all aspects, there are a number of ways of getting paid, but one needs to be a little bit more creative in terms of grants, in terms of fitting into need, in terms of, like for me, I needed, before I got grants to support my chaplaincy, I needed to become a domestic violence prevention facilitator so that I would get paid doing work in the prison. And so it's not an either or, but the in between the either or takes a lot of creative thought and a lot of real hard looking at what you need in terms of survival and make your choices around that.
Right, I see your hand. I want to do one. I just want to say what Sally said here. in the chat because I so appreciate your CSCPF approach. You can't really test or study your way in this vocation. And so that experiential life community approach is everything. All right, Rich, let's see. Yeah.
So very quickly, I'm a interfaith, non-religious chaplain at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. I did all 4 units of CPE there. I'm endorsed by the Humanist Society. And I've been pursuing a track for APC or BCCI certification. And what I've bumped into is that my master's is in spiritual psychology, and I pursued that intentionally because, as you probably have experienced, the vast majority of encounters are in the realm of the existential more than the theological, and that was a good fit academically for me. But it was only 36 units at the Antioch, and BCCI requires 72 units. And that would include the 36 plus an equivalency. I don't know how you get an equivalency of 36 units and pull that out of the air. What are the requirements for your certifying body? Would my degree from an accredited college in spiritual psychology meet the be sufficient to meet the academic requirement?
I would say at the onset that likely yes. Of course, we'd want to, have a conversation and really look at, everything out in front of us that you are bringing. But yes, we have folks that are in your situation with masters that are related to the field, but not necessarily of a divinity, and they have achieved board certification with us. So let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can't believe it. We're at time. And I'm going to put a couple of links in the chat here. But Rich, I want to know, are you with Greg Klein?
I'm sorry?
Are you with Greg Klein? Is he?
No, Greg is actually working, has residency or did over at Cal Rehab.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. He was in my my cohort, I think in my 3rd unit. Yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah, he's
and also Megan, she went to ChI.
Yeah.
Can't think of her last name right now, but she's a Unitarian minister.
Yeah, we're having fun together, old home time.
Megan now is at Children's Hospital.
Yes, that's right. That's right. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
She had the residency at Cal Rehab right before Greg took that.
Yeah.
Our souls belong to each other. We really do. The CHI community takes care of each other. So a couple of links in the chat here. We've got admissions at chaplaincyinstitute.org if you would like to learn more about our programs. Our website, chaplaincyinstitute.org, and then the website for CSCPF, in case you want to learn more about that. I will stay on after we officially close here, and Susan and Lily, you are free to go, but if you want to stay on, that would be great. But let me close us out. We got good news about John, that his surgery, the tumor is completely out, so blessings and love to our people. But also, deep thanks to all of you being here today and walking this path, this spiritual path. It's not always easy, but what a gift and a blessing it is. And you, friends, are not alone. So sending you on to your Tuesday evening with so much love, so much love. So good to see all of you and old friends. I'll stay on. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Lily and Susan. What a gift.